Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off!
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.drf.com.
Summertime, and I know down at Del Mar, there's a lot of fans that come in that aren't the most hardcore racing fans. They come right in off the beach, Barry, where the turf meets the surf down there at Del Mar. Things will be opening up on Friday. So whether you're a new fan or whether you've been to many Del Mar opening days, it is one of the best days on the racing calendar. We are excited for that one here. And Barry at DRF, at shop.drf, we've got the PPs, the DRF picks, and the Clocker reports every day at Del Mar and at Saratoga. I mean, those are a huge help for the summer races, the 2-year-old races, horses coming off layoffs, getting to see how horses like those tracks.
Yeah, this is a really sweet meet, and it always has been, especially because of the fact that you're getting horses that do ship in. The ship and win program really makes this an interesting meeting because you'll have some horses you haven't seen that have been running on the East Coast, and it kind of throws it into like a junk drawer type of situation where you have lots to pick from, and you can get some prices, and that's what we're here to do, man.
So we'll have everything you need each and every day over at shop.drf.com. From a contest standpoint, I think my personal favorite contest that comes up every year are these Fun in the Sun tournaments, because I'm always looking at Saratoga and Del Mar every weekend. And this is a contest that combines the last 5 races of Saratoga, the first 5 races of Del Mar every Saturday. If you finish in the top group each week, then you make it to the final table. The pools keep growing each and every week. And then the final table, all the players that qualified throughout the summer all play for the big prize. It's really cool. It's $125 too, Barry. So it's not like, sometimes there's big tournaments that are tough to enter, right? They're not always the easiest to put 500 or 1,000 in for a tournament. This one, I think most people can play this $125 every Saturday. And not only do you maybe qualify, but you're doing $10 win bets that are just going right there on your account. So if you're having a good day, that money's just right there on your Express Bet account anyways.
Right. And it's not like, where you have to, you can't get at that money.
Right.
You can still play.
Yep, exactly. It's all throughout the day. $10 win bet, 1 horse in each race. It's really simple. You can see where you are on the leaderboard, and you'll definitely see me on there because I love playing these contests. I'm always just looking at these races already, and I'd love to see if I can get qualified for that final weekend, that final table. So check out the Fun in the Sun tournaments. We're going to have plenty of that. How about this weekend alone? We've got opening weekend at Del Mar. We've got Haskell weekend at Monmouth. The Haskell is a really solid race. It's not a huge field, but 5 of the 7 can win there. It wouldn't shock you at all to see like any one of Further Ado. You've got even the maiden Ocelli there. Then you've got the top 2 finishers from the Preakness. I know you liked Iron Honor, who ran really, really well in there, finished second to Napoleon Solo. Any of those horses could win it. It would not be a shock at all. But even the Puma coming off the bench, I think he may. I have a hard time not thinking he needs a race to win. But if he's right there late with that group, it wouldn't shock me at all. There, Saratoga opening weekend at Del Mar, about as good as it gets, with racing continuing over to Ellis, Colonial, all over the place, man.
Yeah, it's a really exciting weekend. This is probably one of the better weekends of racing that we'll see all year, funny enough. But I'm really excited because the Haskell is going to be a great race. They got 14 races over there. Then you got Del Mar with 10. Saratoga's got the stakes over there. I think the Diana's this weekend, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, this is a really, really good horse racing weekend. This is a horse player's delight. Let's have at it, baby.
Hey, we set the table for you. We're going to try to run through this full card at Del Mar. We'll just quickly hit on some of the races. We'll spend a little more time on a few. But remember, first post, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, 2 o'clock p.m. local time for Friday at Del Mar. And it always starts with a claiming race just like this, like a 16 claimer. going a mile on the dirt. It's traditional that we start with this exact sort of race. And, horses that are in good form in here that you definitely will look towards. The number 7, Hard to Figure, was a winner on June 6th against 16 claimers. And then when you look at Papa Padromo, this is a barn like that has really stepped up over the last couple of years to be like a top Southern California barn. His first start off the claim numbers for George EP, last 5 years, 31 for 102. So that's with a $2.32 ROI. Over the last 1 year, 9 for the last 19, 47% with a 377 ROI. I mean, this horse is the favorite, obviously, but just those are incredible numbers for a guy who's just been really able to step up and hit it around 20% or so the last couple of years in Southern California. So he's the horse to start with, Barry. He got a pretty easy lead and he was able to cruise and crush a group on June the 6th. Do you think he does that right back in here?
Yeah, he definitely has the pace advantage over a lot of these horses. I mean, on paper, Cowboy Mike might be the only horse that would want to try to go with him, maybe Habeas, but I just don't think they're fast enough, and he should have the run of the race here. It's really his race to win or lose.
The 5 who you mentioned, Cowboy Mike, if I'm playing the early pick 5, I'm throwing him in as a horse who what they've done on paper makes sense to me. He got claimed for 20. Then they take a shot against Tougher. He's in a little too tough. Now he can drop back to a more logical level, and he's at the $16,000 level here. He's actually training pretty well, stretching out from 6.5 back to a mile. And that race going a mile, 2 starts back was not bad at all. So I think he fits pretty well in here too, especially from what you were talking about, a horse that can be sitting close or maybe pushing the pace a little bit. If you think that they'll go quick in here, or if you think that there's enough speed to maybe set up for a horse like the 4, Mighty Kai, he would be the one that with help, he could maybe improve more on Hard to Figure, who beat him last time out. He needs pace to run at. He's a horse who's going to drop back and make one late run. And in smaller fields where there's no pace, he's going to lose to a horse like Hard to Figure almost all the time. So he's kind of the off the pace horse. Then you have a couple wild cards, Barry, before we move on to race 2. To the outside, they're horses who have done a lot of their work on the grass, and they're going to try the dirt. And that's the 8 Pioneer Prince and the 9 Tariff. And I guess either one of them wouldn't be too crazy if they transferred the form over. You just don't want to take too short of a price. Pioneer Prince's 2 races on the dirt, weren't very good. It's only been 2. For Tariff, he's never been on the dirt. So they're kind of wild cards in this race just because they're talented enough to win at a level like this. We just really have no idea what their form will be like on the dirt.
Yeah, and that's always a question. I in this race are really leaning on dismissing those horses like Pioneer Prince, who I think is pretty good.
And quick,
but he's certainly a turf horse for sure. And they just don't have the same kind of turn of foot, speed, the whole 9 on the traditional dirt that they have on the turf. But one horse I think, if you want to try to get a little crazy here, the 3 Swaggish.
Sure.
You have to believe that those races at Gulfstream were a lot better than these races over here at Del Mar. I know,
you're talking about the ship and win stuff too, right?
Right. And there's incentive there for them to win a race like this. So I think this horse is really well meant, has the speed figures. You see, they ran a race at Tampa that probably could, at least speed figure wise, compete with these horses.
Yep.
And I think those races might be just a tad bit better. And I'm going to give this horse a shot at a decent price. Rosario's riding well. Sam Malinsky, who doesn't make too many appearances out west, is taking a shot for the ship and win. And I think this horse might be a little bit liver than the morning line suggests.
I think that's a fun price horse to include. I agree with Swaggish. Shout out to USC Trojan legend and Los Angeles Laker legend Nick Young. Swaggy P.
Swaggy P.
It was like, where did Swaggy P come from? Nick Young?
Swaggy P got a ring.
Swaggy P. Swaggy. Hey, you know what? People clown on Swaggy P because he kind of, he's goofy. He had serious game. If you just remember watching him at USC in particular before he came to the NBA, and then he was remembered more for his personality, but he was really, really good. And honestly, there was even a year with the Lakers where they asked him to play more defense, and he did. Like, he was just a guy that was better than you thought. Gilbert Arenas said one time that, he could mimic, Swaggy P could like mimic Kobe moves really well, like offensively. And you couldn't really tell the difference a lot of the time just because he had that move. Obviously it was more of the mental game that separated him and Kobe from some of the greats. Swaggy P, never know the tangents that we'll get on when you're looking at the races and the daily racing form PPs. Barry, let's move along. Race number 2, mile and a 16th on the turf course, optional 80s, non-winners of 1 first level allowance. This one doesn't look like, again, there's that much early speed in here, which would really give a nod to Red Cherry, if that's the case, who was second, beaten just a length last time out, dropping out of the Santa Anita Oaks. And the grass races just look better than the dirt races. So she's the one to catch and beat, the one to start with. I will say Peppermint Dash was really impressive in this debut win. I don't know exactly how good the field that she defeated that day was, and I'm not sure if she's going to get the type of pace, but if we can pull the race up, Barry, it was sprinting 6.5, and now she'll have to stretch out, but she was the first foal from an unraced dam. She's the number 9 here, and she's towards the back of the pack, but she's not that far out of it early, and you can see she's kind of in hand, so they sort of let the race develop in front of her, and she ends up, you can flash just a little farther and we can see the 9 and we'll pick her up in the green and watch her start to move here, Barry, making this move like 4 wide. And just, you get worried when horses start to make that wide move that they're just going to stop. Like right about here, generally horses will kind of tire out and flatten out. But no, she kind of kicks into another gear. And this was an extremely impressive performance for a horse first time out of the box going 6.5 furlongs, which is not easy to do.
Yeah, this horse showed a lot of late speed, and I think that's what really got the job done there in that race, in the first race there. But like you said, I'm not really sure how. Yeah, a little bit. Especially if at that price, I would like to see a better price on a horse like that. But the field's not too big, so I'd say like 5-1 is probably where I'd be comfortable taking that horse. But I think Struck by Her really just hasn't had a real good run at it in a long time, or at least the last 3 races. You see, they were buried inside and actually didn't run that bad first time going long. And before that, they got a wide trip. I think they're really going to enjoy the smaller field and being able to get a good spot, especially Juan Hernandez. I think this horse is pretty live. I think they can be closer to the pace. Hence probably the reason why Juan lands here instead of anywhere else. Even with Peppermint Dash, I think that horse might be speed challenged early. But Struck by Her will probably get a really good trip off the Red Cherry's flank. And Juan Hernandez is excellent with nursing horses' speed like that, and they should have a good shot. The outside horse, Waiting for You, comes out of the same race as Struck by Her, just didn't finish as well. But I think that race was pretty live with Red Cherry, Struck by Her, and the outside horse Waiting for You. And then, Victoria's Dream seems to be a little bit live here too, which is interesting. So I don't think this race is just as easy as Red Cherry, but the other horses are going to have to step up and kind of make it difficult for Red Cherry. Somebody has to do it early. I want to say it might be Soul Sister. Or it could be Struck by Her. It just might wear down on the outside, but we'll see. It's going to be an interesting race for that reason.
Yeah, the point you were circling is kind of how I got kind of how I finished my analysis of this race. Whereas like early, you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, yeah, Red Cherry does look like the horse to catch and beat on paper. But then when you go through each horse individually, they're not out of it. Any one of them individually in this race. So while it's just a small field, and while it does look like Red Cherry has that advantage on paper, you can make a case for every single one of these horses, as we did with Peppermint Dash. We showed you that race. Maybe she can sit a little closer stretching out, and maybe she can be just kind of sitting second or third and not too far out of it. Victoria's Dream finally put it all together as a maiden last time out. This horse had shown ability in previous starts, and it was maybe just that light bulb coming, and putting all of the stuff that she learned together. And what you can see is actually she's progressed based on speed figures in all of her races. And you were hitting on Struck By You, maybe getting the nice trip, sitting second in here if Red Cherry goes. I've actually played Soul Sister a few different times, and she also finally figured it all out last time out. And maybe it was just kind of, okay, learning and developing, and now mentally she's there, and she's got a little versatility to her as well. Waiting for You is only going to make her second start in the US. Why can't she improve off of that effort? It's a 6-pack where the favorite does look live, but if you told me you liked any one of these horses individually, I wouldn't talk you off of them.
Absolutely. And this is a great race. Whoever carded this race here did an excellent job, because, you're forced to make a decision early. So say, we concede the first race to the favorite there, hard to figure. Then you come into this race, then you have decisions to make, because it seems like one of those sort of races where Red Cherry is like the all or nothing horse. You're going to take that horse and move on, or you're not going to use that horse at all. And with the prices that are going to be in this race, I think everybody's going to be around the same price. And it's going to be very, very difficult to make decisions here. This is a really tough race.
Then we move to the third, which is a 2-year-old race. It's not a maiden special, but it's a high maiden claiming for horses that were RNA or sold at an auction for $150,000 or less, or it's a claiming price of $150,000. Why it's tricky is because you have 3 horses in here who have raced. So it's a field of 6. 3 have raced, 3 first-time starters. The 3 horses that have raced, they have experience. That's the positive. They got the benefit of the race under their belt. All of them were beaten by double-digit lengths in their race. So while they do have experience, Charlie's Clock was on a sloppy racetrack, was defeated by 11 lengths that day. Bossman Bolt ran at Santa Anita behind a really nice horse, but was beat 14 lengths that day. And Billy Goat was in that same race at Santa Anita with Bossman Bolt, and they were both defeated 14 plus lengths. They were double-digit lengths. So while the experienced horses, you can check that box that they got that race. Was it a race that was all that fantastic, or are they the most talented? Or do you want to look for first-time starters in here who maybe are a little bit better? It's not a big field again, but I don't think this is the easiest race at all.
No, definitely not. The horse that caught my eye was Free Solo.
Absolutely.
I like
That's
that.
right when I started.
That last workout was pretty good. 48-3 handling from the gate on July 11th. But the pedigree, the half sibling Solo Venturi won first time out, pretty good.
Yep.
Albeit at Indiana Horseshoe in Indianapolis, but I think that's something to work through here, because of the fact that there's not many horses with experience. If you looked at that Kenny 10 race, I actually had Kenny 10 in that race, and
who was impressive,
Billy
right?
Goat,
And like,
yeah, he was a lot better than I think everybody thought, including their connections
in the betting board, because he was a big price in that race too.
Yeah, he wasn't the favorite by any means. Wins and draws off by 7.5. Bossman Bolt ran pretty good despite that, and Billy Goat just stopped, which was kind of strange, because that horse kind of got good position and
he like loomed up like he was coming, and then
like he was going to keep going, and just stopped.
Yep.
And I think I can chalk that up to inexperience, because you see this horse came back with a nice workout July 11th, retains Jaramillo.
So this is just what we were talking about right now with Billy Goat. See, he's like right on the outside of Kenny 10. He's kind of looming up right here at the top of the lane, and he looks like they're going to be on even terms. And then as soon as Kenny 10's kind of asked, Billy Goat just
stops,
backs up, like right here. He's like, he almost takes a goofy step, and then he's just sort of, maybe didn't like the dirt getting kicked in his face when he was getting backed up. But yeah, just, nothing here.
Yeah, but the encouraging thing is he gets out of
into
the
the position, right? And he
Correct.
gets that position. So a lot of times you just feel like, okay, they're going to be a lot fitter the second time if they did the same exact thing.
Yeah, and the only problem is, I think the one Charlie's Clock is going to be just pedal to the metal from the inside, and it's going to make it difficult. So horses like Bossman Bolt and Free Solo kind of makes sense, because I don't think Mike Smith is going to try to go to the engine with this horse unless he just drags him up to the front, which is probably not what they're trying to do here. Dan Blacker does pretty good with these types. Yeah. His works have steadily gotten better. He's not super fast, but you can tell he's fast enough. I mean, I watched one of his works and he looks pretty good. He moves well, just needs experience. It needs to run. And I think this is a good spot for him.
So I don't have like a checklist, but when I'm looking at first time starters in races, there's kind of like an unofficial checklist I'm going through to things I'm looking at, and and how many of these boxes do they check, right? And so for Free Solo, you're just talking about the works, and you can watch the works in the morning, and they're pretty good, especially that July 11th worked from the gate, inside, step slow, then up to the lead, and was traveling really well, just kind of like in hand. And I think the trip that you pointed out is exactly it. I think this is a course that's going to come from off the pace a little bit. We looked at the pedigree. This course has had a sibling that won first time out of the box and was 3 for 8. So
wasn't on the engine either.
No, solid sibling, solid pedigree. The works, fine. Now let's take a look at the barn and see how they are with first time starters. Dan Blacker, not necessarily one that cranks them to win with first time starters. We're going to our DRF formulator database here. This will show us the last 5 years, right? 4 for 68. Yep. So 6%. Let's look at the last 1 year if we want to just see how, because I always do this for every stat I look at. I look at the 5 years, then I look at the 1 year, just to see how things are different in the bigger sample size and if they've changed over the last 1 year. Because sometimes your stock changes.
Trends.
Things are different, right? You're getting better horses, worse horses, different tracks, all sorts of stuff. So while he's only won with 4 of the last, over the last 5 years, he has won with 3 in the last 1 year. And so that to me just tells me he's getting a little better stock. He's got a little bit better horses, and they can absolutely win with the right type of horse. So kind of checks that box as at least capable enough. And I think when you looked at it even closer than that, it would actually be like 3 for the last 21. So that is much, much better. Checks a lot of those boxes for me right here with the pedigree. That's fine. The capable barn, the works that we liked, Free Solo in the mix. You were talking about Billy Goat as the one coming out of that race who maybe will get a little bit more finish and more fitness. I would have mentioned Los Angeles. I'm out here in LA, and we look at another one who, check out the pedigree. Lofty was solid. Lofty was 4 for 9. Everything pretty much on the turf. Did have the one race on the dirt, finished second in the debut, but solid. First full for that dam. So solid pedigree there. The work that I was able to watch was on July the 2nd. Worked outside of an unraced mate, about even, fine. Then we go to Michael McCarthy with first-time starters, 11% over the last 5 years, like 12% over the last year. So, and I think they get bet a lot. He's better with second-timers than he is with first-timers, can get the job done. I think what it tells you when you look at those numbers is you don't want to take too short of a price. So if this horse gets bet to 5-2, I'm kind of waiting. If he's 5-1, that's fine. I'll take a little bit more of a swing right there. We both started with Free Solo, though. Barry is kind of like the interesting first-time starter here.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point when you talk about the formulator and how you manipulate the stats for trainers, because I'm not one to tell people how to use formulator, but what you did and what you said makes a lot of sense, because if you remember years ago, Bill Mott started winning with first-time starters out of nowhere.
Yep.
And it wasn't like, everybody didn't know he couldn't do it. He just had to change his style in order to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Yep.
And that sort of information and those kind of statistics in the short term could boost you into getting into another horse, or just changing your mind, or giving you more to think about when you go to select these horses in these maiden races like this. This is a tough race, despite there's not much form there. I think there's 3 horses.
It's competitive.
It's very competitive, even with the horses that have run already. But
so the two races that are the short fields of 6 are in races 2 and 3 any one of the 6 can win.
Right, exactly.
And so that's
This
why
is a
they're
tough sequence already.
right off the bat, and one thing you were kind of hitting on with the formulator stuff as we move to race number 4, it can even work really well for you the opposite way. Like if you know
Right.
or remember some of these barns, for example, Doug O'Neill, he was going through like a bad stretch of a year where the barn was just struggling. They weren't winning a lot. They were having a lot of seconds and thirds. If you looked at a lot of the Doug O'Neill stats during that year, like first off the claim or with first time starters, they were bad. But if you looked at the last 5 years, you would go, I know he's better than that. Right.
Correct,
And then all of a
yes.
sudden you see, it's like, oh yeah, they were 15, 20%, not like they had a bad year. And how easy it is in a bad year when you're looking at a stat and you're like 2 for 30. And then all of a sudden you win 3 more. And all of a sudden that stat changes real quickly and goes right back to where it was. So yeah, I just try to look at as much of a sample and then the more recent one to get a really good idea of both. As we move to the 4th race, Barry, 5 furlong turf sprint in here. What makes this race really challenging, the 1 Coduello and the 4 Doncic, shout out to Luca, they come out of the same race on July 11th, where they were the top 2 betting choices in the race, and they both were basically eased. And then they come right back here, and you have to like scratch your head because nothing really bad happened to either one of them. They're back here in a month from that last race, a little over a month. But why did they run so poorly in those races?
I looked at that and I could, at first I was like, maybe it was just the rise in class, but then you see Coduello won a race like this previous.
2 starts back.
It was just, I mean, I don't know. It was just chalked up to an inexplicable result because then even after that, the horse came back with some really good works.
Yep. And it's not like you get a drop. It's not like you get a panicky drop in class either, where this horse shows up for 16. So they're coming right back at the level where they've been competitive. So you have 2 and not for one horse, for 2 different horses. So like trying to get a read on both of them is a little bit challenging. And they both are going to be shortish prices in here, as they probably should. I kind of grouped them together. But
it just stands out, especially with Doncic. That last race just stands out so bad.
So bad.
It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you would think a horse like that with a bad race would run that 75 like they did October 26th of 2025.
Right. But that was nothing.
Right. I mean, compared to that, I mean, maybe it was the post position. I don't know, but they really just didn't show up at all.
So I'm going to use the 3 in this race, alphabetical order, in the pick 4, pick 5, just because he's in here for the 5 furlongs, more so than for the turf. Although when you look, his dam actually did win on the grass. So there's a little bit of a turf there. And this dam was actually a pretty solid Calbred, Alphabet Kisses. She was not bad, and she was really, really quick. And there are 3 winning turf siblings when you go through the pedigree. No monsters or anything in here, but 3 different siblings that had success winning on the grass. And he's just really, really fast. I think he's the fastest horse in here. He's going to cut back from 5.5 to 5. So pick 4, pick 5. I wanted to use him. And then Barry, I'll mention one more and I'll hand the baton to you. Another horse who's a ship-in winner, right? And that's the 5, Nasty Habit, coming in for Peter Miller, who he has 2 races on the slop last time, but I think he's also a horse who might be in here as much for the 5 furlong distance as for the turf, because at 5 furlongs, I think he can sit close, but I think he can also finish at the 5 furlong distance. And he's coming out of better races in those middle level claiming races at Churchill and at Oaklawn are so much stronger than the ones out in Santa Anita. There's just not the depth that they have in those types of races.
Yeah. It's funny because Nasty Habit is the horse that I kind of keyed in on here. That horse is a half sibling to Raise Cane, who's a decent horse. I mean, he was pretty precocious, ran well, good early, and there's some
A
others in
couple
here
turf horses too, from a turf pedigree,
exactly,
2 turf
and
winners, I think.
it's a little bit of speed, and I think this horse might be in that sort of realm, and it kind of boggles my mind that they didn't go to the turf sooner with this horse.
I agree.
Considering what the pedigree looks like and the speed that this horse possesses, it seems like a good fit for a turf sprint. Peter Miller, as you know, won the turf sprint, the Breeders' Cup turf sprint twice back to back with the same horse. So he knows what he's doing. And I think he's got this horse well placed, a little bit muddied up. Unfortunately, the field isn't that big, and you're not going to get a really good price, but I still think this horse is not going to be favored. I think the crowd's going to go to the Code Duello and Doncic of this group, and this horse should be just slightly off favored. 4-1 seems about right. You get that price, I'm going to go full force.
And I'm fine in this race trying to shorten up. Like, I think I'm going to go too deep, and it sounds like you like this horse. I wouldn't talk off people if they wanted to single a horse like this in a spot like this, because the horses we're talking about, I have kind of grouped together. Like I mentioned, the 1 and 4, don't really know what to do with the both of them coming off the disappointing effort. And then you kind of have the 7 and the 8 who were right next to each other in the last race, in the April 5th race. I kind of grouped them together where I don't really know how great they are. I think they're kind of in the similar sort of talent level. I feel like the 5 is the best horse in this field, and I think he's going to take to the grass. And if he's like 7-2 or above, and a couple of these other horses are taking money, maybe that's the way we play this race, is we kind of just shorten up in some of the multis and use him or maybe him and one other nasty habit.
Actually, I would use the 2 a little bit.
That's okay. Nice.
I'd probably go 3 deep in here, but Mutada definitely is right there knocking on the door. And I think maybe the switch, right? I think maybe the switch from Frey to Rosario might be the difference here. The horse is working well coming into this. I know it's a little concerning. We haven't seen a published work since June 8th. But again, these horses are very evenly matched. And if there's a duel, this horse is going to be in great position. It's just a matter of whether Joel can find that right spot or path on the outside to go by them all. He certainly has the chops and speed to win a race like this. He just has to show it out there. And I think there's enough speed for him to do it. And 12-1 is a good price. I don't think we're going to get that. I would say probably around 7 or 8-1, maybe even 6. But I'll take that in a race like this.
So many of these races, you just can't really dismiss a lot of horses. That's what makes them difficult. Like the 2 to the outside, who I wouldn't be a shock. Tom Seaver in here is probably in a little bit tough just off his recent couple of races, but anyone else, again, wouldn't really shock you. As we move along to race number 5, we've got Calbred, maiden special weight, fillies, 2-year-olds going 5 furlongs on the dirt. And in the middle of this field, you got the 3 Tijuana Money, who just faced a horse over at Turf Paradise named Caps and Carnage. This horse is good. He's 3 for 3. He just went over and won a race at Wyoming by 19 3/4 lengths after winning a couple races at Turf Paradise. So he's not a slouch. And this horse, Tijuana Money, got beat by him in both races, and now comes over here and faces Calbreds after having a little bit of experience with those 2 races. The 4, the 5, the 6, all are live looking first time starters. Any one of them you told me you liked, you thought you could make a big case for them, wouldn't talk you off any one of them. The 7, Sauced, this horse ran well in both starts. Just got beat ahead last time out. If for some reason he is 6-1 or above because everyone else wants to bet the first time starters in here, this horse is the horse to beat. I mean,
I think so. Honestly, because he ran really good.
He did.
The second time out.
From the rail, he gets off the rail after getting the inside in both of his starts. Now he gets off the rail. So let's pull the race up, because you were pointing it out. It was good. He had to navigate through the inside. He's the 2 in here, Sauced up. He's inside. He's 4th, about 5th. He's 3 lengths off. And Barry, like, it wasn't like, okay, it was a 4-horse field and he just sort of ran 2nd or 3rd in there. He learned a lot, I think, in this race from right here, from the 2 where he is and having to move up through that tight spot. This was a good effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like this effort. I think that the morning line might be a little bit off here.
Yeah.
With that horse that high, because the experience is going to go a long way. I know it's 2 outings. Even the last one, they didn't get the greatest of trips. I think being on the outside is probably going to help this horse. Felix Rodin is having a tough go of it right now. Maybe that's why that morning line is a little bit high. But in comparison to everybody else, if that horse runs that last race or something similar to it, they're going to be right around it at the finish. Rosa's Miracle is the horse that I kind of keyed in on. Is working well into this. That July 3rd and July 10th works are excellent, and it just seems like that's hit the mark. We don't know really what we're going to get from the Corniche horses, but Sadler's got them cranked up, ready to go first time, a lot of them, and gets Joel, who again is riding well. And then there's a lot of other horses here whose trainers don't really kind of point towards winning first time out, or they just
that's both the 4 and the 5, right? Who
Correct.
Like they look fine on paper, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them run well. I don't want to take too short of a price. Pete Urton, 12 for last. Go ahead.
I would go there before anybody else. With the ones that are questionable with the first time out stats and things like that. Looks like an Angel's probably the one I would kind of lean towards. That July 6th work is pretty quick, which means this horse is probably, decently talented. But the only other horse I could see would be Tijuana Money. I think the experience here is going to mean a lot.
The 4 that work that you pointed out for Looks Like an Angel, that July 6th work, it was very good. Worked inside from the gate, and it was just kind of waiting on the rival to the outside. So really nice. On Broadway, Papa Padromo, who I was singing the praises of, and we were mentioning the awesome first off the claim stats earlier. With first time starters,
stats.
7 for the last 115 and 1 for the last 19. So yeah, I mean, the one work that I was able to see was the June 6th work. It was good, but if it's a really competitive race and you have a few other barns that are a little better first time out, I was with you on the 6, Rosa's Miracle. I like this one the best of the first time starters. The Dam, Carmelita was a winner.
Pretty nice horse, yeah.
Carmelita's Man is the one that's the Calbred. That's actually really solid on the grass, like an 8-time winner, $600,000 Calbred stakes horse. There were 3 winning Sibs. And when you're talking about John Sadler with first-time starters, you could pull up the formulator stats. A couple ways I look at it. I'll always go to the first-time starters to see. So we've got like 14%. And then we can take a look, like I mentioned, over the last 1 year to see how it's changed. And we're getting 17%. So like still pretty close in that same range, 5 for 30. This is a 2-year-old race. Curious to see if that's any different with 2-year-old horses. So that's how, like, the next thing I would do when I'm looking in formulator. When you go to 2-year-olds, 4 for the last 13, 31%. So with these 2-year-olds really firing well, including having one with 2 of his last 3 2-year-olds, Eva Lee and Early Encore. So Sadler has been excellent with the 2-year-old first-time starters. This horse is training really well. The July 3rd worked outside of a mate, was in the 2-path going very easily. On July 10th, it was a work with 3. This horse was second best, but was way better than the 3rd horse. And the one that won was really impressive that day. So yeah, I was, my son's not around to hear this, Barry, but I was 6'7", 6'7".
Oh yeah.
6'7" with Rosa's Miracle and sauced up here as the top 2.
You got to think if Sadler knows that this horse is pretty good, this is a really good spot to unveil a horse like that. A, it's at Del Mar. B, this isn't the toughest race that you'll see out there, and it's early in the meet, where they can come back and collect some checks. If this horse is good enough, go into the stakes ranks and try that way. So this is a really good spot for that horse. I think Rosa's Miracle is really well met here.
2-year-old fillies. I think when I was talking about Sauced Up, I might have said he a couple times, but she was very impressive in that. And I always like when the horses that run well from the inside, they get to the outside, and that'll kind of give them more options. And she has that real nice experience with those 2 efforts. Sauced Up. We move to the late pick 5. So the 5th race closes out the early pick 5 sequence. Race 6 starts the late pick 5 with a mile and a 16th race on the turf. You have 6 of these horses that come back from the June 7th race at Santa Anita, where Charlie's to Blame was 2nd and Detain was 3rd. So that's a pretty important race. We could pull it up and watch that race here in the replay. So those 2 horses, Barry, are probably going to be the top 2 betting choices in here. The 4, Charlie's to Blame and Detain. Those are the horses that we're watching in this replay. They were the 3 and the 4. Do you like either of them? Do you agree that they're kind of the ones to beat, or do you think it's more wide open than that?
No, I think Detain is probably the class of this bunch.
Me too.
So
she's the 3, or he's the 3 in the race that we're watching here. And Charlie is the 4 who's on the lead. Detained is the 3 who's kind of mid-pack there.
Yeah. And honestly, just that fact that this horse was running pretty good overseas puts this horse in the mix. And they could have improved. Even though that last start, it was kind of mediocre. They were favored in that race, but didn't get the greatest of trips. And I think they needed that one. But if you go back to last year, what this horse was running, that run in the French 2000 Guineas was pretty damn good. Behind Henri Matisse and John Quill. There's 16 horses in that race. This one finished 6th, only 2.5 off the lead.
So beat 9 other horses, right? In that race. Ran a winning race in the U.S. That's enough to beat 2 fields sometimes in the U.S.
Exactly. And even came out of that and ran pretty good at Chantilly in the Prix de Jockey Club, which is a Group 1 as well. I think they gave this horse a run last time. I wish this horse was cranked up that day because I did bet, but we're going to go back to the well this time.
I agree.
McCarthy usually is much better second time out. JJ Sticks. I think this horse is going to be very tough to beat. Not unbeatable, but very tough in this spot.
And I think because it's a big enough field, the horse may not get bet as much because there's a lot of options in here. But honestly, on paper, he looks so good. Second start back, as you pointed out. This is a horse who's Group 1 placed. I mean, in that Jockey Club effort where he was 3rd in a field of 18, that's a monster effort. And even the final start of his 3-year-old season, when finishing 3rd in that Group 2 behind Opera Ballo, that was a really good effort. He was off from September all the way to June. So he ran in that race a little like a horse who might have needed the race. He just wasn't quite as sharp late finishing. He is now going to go second start back. You look at the workouts. I was curious, and this horse is going long on the turf, right? So watching a horse go 5 furlongs on the dirt a lot of times is irrelevant, but I just had a feeling that this is a good horse, and I wanted to see what he was like in the mornings. That July 10th race, or that July 10th work, was very good. He absolutely blew by a horse on the outside. The July 2nd race, he was full of run in hand, both those last 2 works. So those 2, I really, really liked for a turf horse on the dirt. And I think he's sitting on go in this spot. Like, I really think you're going to get a big effort from Detain in here. And a lot of it
seems like it.
I kind of lost you for a second, but I think we got you back. And I think for me also in here, Barry, it's more of like, once I got beyond Detain, I'm fine with Charlie's to Blame, who got the lead last time, finished second. I thought he kind of got his trip last time. If he runs that race right back, he'll probably be pretty tough in here. I just didn't really love a lot of the other options in here. So I really do think this is a good spot for Detain. I feel like Game Warrior, Scipio, I need to see a little bit more from them. Irish Prophet has a tough post out there I'm kind of worried about. Tempest Volat, I'm not sure what kind of trip he gets. Maybe he can kind of push the pace a little bit with Charlie's to Blame. You get War at Sea coming second start back. I really did keep coming back to Detain and just thinking he's going to run a huge race second time in the US here. So we're going to continue along, and we'll get Barry back in just a second. We had just a little slight technical difficulty with him there. This is race number 6. So this one will kick off your late pick 5 sequence with Detain as hopefully not too short of a price in this one. Okay, we got Barry back with us. Barry, putting the final finishing touches on this 6th race, where I was just mentioning I thought Detain was certainly the horse to beat. And for me, it was like I didn't really love a lot of the other options as well. And that's why I think he really does kind of stand out second time US in here.
Yeah, I agree. He does stand out a little bit. I'm just worried about the price getting too low.
Yep. Who are some of the others?
Some alternatives.
Yeah, give us a couple others to like prices or fun ones.
Some alternatives. Maybe Man Among Men.
Sure.
Had a real wide trip in that race. I know he was a huge price. He's 38-1, but he seems like he's getting better. In a sense, I know he's 7 years old too, but they haven't gone this trip very often, and he won back in May 2024 at this same trip. Well, no, it was a mile that day, but that kind of race would fit here. And got a wide trip last time, ran on well. I wouldn't be surprised if that horse shows up. Same thing with Tempest Vola. That horse is very talented, just got really, kind of worked over with with the post position here. Gets Diego Herrera, who's coming back out to Del Mar, which is very interesting as well, to add to the already interesting jockey colony out there. But this horse is pretty versatile. They can come off the pace a little bit. I don't think the pace is going to be super fast, and they might be able to get position at a good price.
I agree. And if you're the trip that works for Tempest Volat is like sitting second. Let Charlie go, maybe. Charlie's to blame, and he sits right behind him, or vice versa. Just get out of the gate, look over and see what Charlie's doing. And if he goes, you could probably sit second, not have to be really hooked wide, and get a nice run for your money at 15-1. I had this horse third, just because I don't think there's that much early speed, as you pointed out. I just had 4, 7, 10. The horse that I was kind of curious about was the 2 who you were pointing out also. So maybe we'll use him making his second start back off the long layoff. Man Among Men, who is 20-1. That is race.
Yeah, Tempest Vola seems to like Del Mar too. I saw this horse race out in the back in the Let It Ride when they won, and that horse ran really good, and then came out of that one and lost to Salamis and Test Score. That not many of these horses can say they were in that kind of company, and they ran well that day. I think the post position is going to keep this price right.
But it may not be. It may not be as impactful, right? If they're not lining up on the lead, and he can just kind of get second and cross over a little bit.
Well, the idea is that Detain and Tempest Vola want the same trip or close to it. And I think, obviously with Diego Herrera, who does get aggressive, will definitely kind of force the issue here, so he can get right on that flank of Charlie and see what they can do from there. But that's his best trip, and I think he's going to get it.
Race number 6 kicks off that late pick 5 sequence. Barry and I will continue to navigate our way through as we go to race number 7 on opening day at Del Mar. 4 horses in this race are making their first start for a new barn. You see a lot of that at Del Mar and at Saratoga, first start off the claim. So maybe you'll get horses improving or showing different tactics, maybe changing for their barns. In this race, doesn't look like there's that much early speed. And the horse who I'm certainly using as a wild card pick 4, pick 5 horse is the one, FOMO Joe. He's never been on the dirt, but his grass races, if you're just comparing them, they're in better spots. He's been facing good horses on the grass. I believe that with his inside draw, with Maldonado aboard, he's cutting back from 1 mile and 1/8 to 1 mile. I think they're just going to go with him and see if he can be like classier than this field and get out front. So while I don't think he's the type of horse who I would single or anything, he's the type of horse who I do want to throw in to a pick 4 or pick 5 Because if he is 6 to 10 to 1 and he is close up early, he's the type of horse I'm looking for in those, pick 4 and pick 5 sequences. So he's in the mix for me, Barry. And I kind of thought that Redial coming off of that, 4 straight pretty good races, he's kind of the solid horse of those who have run in spots like this. Who are some of the horses that you need or you want to start with in here?
It's funny that you say that there doesn't seem to be all that much speed in here. A horse that's towards the outside that I do like is Skyquist. That last race was a huge improvement. Second time going long after they break the maiden, and lost to Hard to Figure, who's in the first race. Is the favorite in the first race. And this race isn't that much different than that one.
No,
and I think they're going to get a really good run. They're going to have, I think the pace is going to be, fair. And you see this horse showed a lot more speed than they did before. It seems like this horse is figuring it out. And the
last
workouts,
2 races, you kind of put them together, right? You like that he came from way out of it, and then he was way closer, and you just hope, okay, can he do something right in between those two?
Yeah, and I think he can. I think he has enough speed. This horse is pretty talented and shown it. I also think they were waiting for Delmar, which makes a lot of sense. This horse ran really, really good both times there. And if you can wait. The other horse that kind of caught my eyes.
They get a free roll with him because of the layoff. Because they're coming back off a long layoff. Look, he's not even in for a tag here. It's like a free shot at this level for him coming back in this beaten claiming race. So yeah, I love when you get these horses like that you feel like they're really well meant, even for a barn that doesn't win a ton off the long layoff. You can see the plan they had here. You can just see it.
Well, he didn't really get a good trip in that race they won when they dropped in class. He was just better. And that really, I think, opened the connection's eyes and like this horse can run a little bit. And then they stepped him up, into the next logical spot and ran big at 20 to 1. This spot might be maybe even a little bit softer. And that puts Skyquist right there in the mix. And I think Curly's Agenda is another one.
The race was really good. His race
was a
good.
Decent race. They looked pretty professional doing it. Was on the outside. The comments in there just rallied 3 or 4 wide. There's not many horses that can do that in this race. I mean, it seems a little all over the place. And I think might be one of those races where you're going to get a bunch of horses trying to go for the lead and then a second tier. Most of whoever's going to win this race is definitely going to come out of that second tier. It's just a matter of how far they're back. If they can get position, like Skyquist gets way better position like they did in the last race, they might be tough. Redial's another one, and I think Curly's Agenda would be the third one I would throw in.
Those are the 3 that Barry uses. I mentioned the one as just maybe he can be better than this group from the inside when Edwin sends, and if he takes to the dirt, where he's actually been training pretty well on the dirt. I'm going to throw him in as kind of the wild card, but both the 5 and the 7, who you mentioned, 100% in the mix for me. And the 8 was one of those on the fringes horse. And I absolutely, as we talked out the plan for him, feels like he could get a really nice trip in here too, coming off.
So what do you do with the 3 Hondo Crouch? I mean, we were just talking about Papadromo and
off the
claiming,
claim, right? And the only thing that with this particular horse, why I'm a little colder is he is coming out of a good barn too, Glatt, right? So like sometimes going from one good barn to the other good barn, you won't see as much of the pickup as if he's claiming off of a low percentage barn, right? Which just makes more sense. That's 1. And 2, this particular horse he's had a lot of opportunities. He's had a few at and around this level. He did have some trouble last time out. Like, it wasn't a bad effort, but you start watching his races and that kind of happens over and over and over again. So I worry about him being like 6 if he has upside at this age and coming out of another really good barn. But you're right. I mean,
Yeah, it seems like he's had his chances, and,
yeah,
and just didn't seal the deal. And this race seems to be a little bit tougher than what he's been facing
yep.
recently, even that last race. So I was a little cold on him too. And one long shot I might throw in tries and supers might be the 10. Um, I think that horse dramatically improved when stretched out last time.
Yep.
I know they're kind of up against it post position wise, but horses like that kind of run up, behind horses and can, especially if the speed takes like I think it will. This horse might be coming late with Tyler Bays at a big price.
Big reflections there on the outside. He was just off the leader. He was a little bit green, but that's fine. Like there's still some upside there for him, making just his third start as a 4-year-old here. Big reflections. I thought this was one of the more challenging races to have the strong opinion about because $25,000 restricted claimers in here. Barry started with the 8. Skyquist thinks he's going to run really well. We both are on the 5 and the 7 being absolute pick 4 and pick 5 horses you want to use, Redial and Curly's Agenda. I'm going to throw in the 1 FOMO Joe from the inside. Hopefully Edwin can get him going and send him. Both of us didn't know what to do with the 3 Hondo Crouch. We'd be okay using the 10 Big Reflections if you wanted to go deeper or at least underneath. That's the start of the late pick 4. Let's move on to the ocean side. This race is so competitive. I really had to go. I really had to look a few times to see when I was checking out the odds, like who even was the morning line. We've got Irishuk, who's 8-1, Secured Freedom, 12-1, 12-1 on Unrivaled Time, Proletariat won't be 8-1. No way. The 4, Bust Out 4-1. That's the morning line favorite. Bust Out at 4-1. Mr. AP's in here. He hasn't raced since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He's trying turf for the first time, but he was the runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Tis All That. Man, I'm going to show this race in a minute. This just will show everybody how bad things have been going for me lately. I was alive to this horse in a pick 6, and he was so much the best against older horses. We'll pull that up in just a second. Charlie's Curlin, he could be one of the speeds in here. Mokoko is going to try turf for the first time. Jordy Baird and the 12 later than planned wouldn't be a shock. But we have a 4-1 morning line favorite in this big field of 12, Barry.
Ooh, yeah, this is brutal. I mean, this race, I remember back in the day, they used to split it into 2 divisions. And it was always inscrutable. First day of the meet, and it was always chaos in these 2 races. And this, falls suit. I kind of like Jordy Bear quite a bit here.
Second time in the country.
You can see the progression where this horse kind of made it through, won at 7 furlongs over at the Curra, in a small little handicap there. But from their last race, which was September 27, 2025 to May 15th, they certainly improved. I mean, if you can compare their buyer to the Time 4 ratings that they were running, they certainly improved. Should get a good trip here. There's enough speed to make this race kind of even and fair. So if you can get your spot and get clear, you're probably going to get your chance to win this race. I like the price, and I think this horse is really might be tough in this spot. I don't know if that 12-1 is going to hold, but they're definitely not going to be favored here.
No, there'll be a bunch of 6 to 8-1 shots in here, right? Maybe not 12, but maybe half or 8-1 instead.
Right, half that 8-1 would be perfect. Unrivaled Time is the other horse that I think has improved. They paired up Top Figs off the layoff there, and then you go back to their stark contrast race, and you have to think that this horse is pretty decent. I know they went a little longer last time in 1 1/8 miles, but they can get this trip and probably better off since they're kind of towards the inside. Might be better for them. They just have to improve a little bit. Secured Freedom is some horse I just don't want any part of in this race. They like to be on the outside closing, and this horse isn't consistent enough. I personally think they should turn this horse back on the dirt. Seems like kind of like a 1-turn miler type, but we'll
He's
see.
just quirky. Like he comes running late.
Yeah,
like,
he's tough to ride. He's tough to
everything you're
ride.
saying
I
is
think we
very
talked about
accurate.
this before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I liked him on the dirt a couple times. Like I played him in the Bob Lewis and the San Felipe because you'd watch his races and his gallop outs and everything. And like he put it all together last time out. And that was a good effort. And I think that's just the way he wants to be, like, take back, sit back, make one late run. And I think you're right. I like him more than you in the race, in that, like, I would be okay throwing him in as like my 4th horse if I'm spreading out type of thing. But I think exactly what you're saying is that he's going to be better as a horse that maybe at 7 furlongs where they fly.
Yeah.
And he can take back and the race sets up really well for him. Like I'd like to bet him in like a Breeders' Cup Sprint kind of a race like that almost, if they went fast enough
He's
for
almost
him to come flying.
It's almost like he's faint-hearted and just has that one burst of energy.
Yep.
And if you got to time it right, and he's difficult
Absolutely.
to ride. And I think Joel did that last time. And he's not riding this horse this time, which definitely speaks volumes, especially going to the turf like this. You know, and Jaramillo is on bust out, who will probably kind of try to control this speed, but there's a lot in here. One More Freud is another horse that kind of stands out a little bit to me going to the turf. There really isn't much pedigree that says this horse is just going to take to the turf, but I have a feeling that this is the right move here, especially with the way this race kind of shapes up. You know, we're going to have to get sort of the Zenyatta ride from Mike Smith, but I'm okay with that in this race because I think it's really wide open.
So I waited long enough. Now I can show this one because I've had to relive it a couple times watching this.
This is brutal.
So got a few horses, a lot of horses in here, but I didn't have the 3, and we did have the 2 and the 11 for the record in this pick 6 closing here. So the 2 is like 40-1 in this race as well. I think ends up going off at 36-1. So even like right off the bat right here, not the smoothest of starts, but you know, crossing over the dirt, fine, in an okay spot down on the inside, but is going to get stopped just like multiple times, like right here in between horses. And then you just got to slam on the brakes and you're just like standing up completely on the horse because there's nowhere to go. So look at the 2 inside, just full of run, but backing up because he's got nowhere to go in front of him. And it's only funny when you had it and when you know what happens. Again, he tries to go up and there's just not a whole lot of space, but you could see he's full of run, absolutely full of run.
He's a ton.
Again, just waiting. Now gets an inside. Okay, let's move here. So now there's like the horse is starting to move, and watch the gap close again between the 3 and the 11. Right here, he's trying to go in between. Oh, nope. Now I got to go. Oh, no. Oh, okay. 2, get up. 2, get up. Oh, that was
just missed.
Some stuff was being thrown around Gino Buccola's living room on June the 14th. At that moment,
got to take a walk.
Look at the gallop out on the 2, Barry Spears.
Oh my God.
He's so far in front. And like I said, to make it even worse, had the 2 and the 11 who ran 3rd. So the 2nd and the 3rd place finishers there. So there's me up on my soapbox complaining. But what I will say,
you know what I'm worried about is that horse getting bet because of that effort.
Because you look on paper too, that was against older horses. Look at the horses that won. The horse that won the race, the Old 9, is a 5-year-old. The horses that were 2nd or that were 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 5 years old, 5 years old, and 4 years old. So everyone around him in that race was 5 and 4 years old, way older, way more experienced. And now he gets to drop back in with 3-year-olds here. So, yeah, I mean, you know,
I don't have much success with horses like this stretching out.
Me neither. Stretching out
in
either.
General. Usually the second
like
time they run at the distance is better.
They got to get familiar with the timing of the stretch out and what it's like when you got to make a move and when to be asked and when not to. And a lot of times they need that step. So yeah, there's tis all that. And just another race where you can go through this field, and the early part of the card, a little bit smaller. Once you hit races 5 and on, everything is a field of race 6 and on, everything is a field of 10. All 10, all digit fields. So these are all competitive and just massive fields on Friday opening day. We both really think the 3 is going to run a good race. That's Unrivaled Time. Barry started with the 11, Jordy Bear, second time for D'Amato, second time in the U.S. I'm definitely going to have to include my buddy Tiz All That right back, just because if I don't, I know what'll happen here. He'll win.
Right.
And I do like sanity, right? I'm going to use the 4. I like this progression. I just kind of this horse's overall body of work. His career debut, he loses in a good race behind Desert Gate and Acknowledge Me Please. Those horses both came back to win their next start, as did Proletariat. Then he was in back-to-back graded stakes races behind Hey Nene and Plutarch, and then Stark Contrast. And then those were his 2-year-old races. He was off from October to May, showed back up in May in a sprint. He was the best horse. He acted like the best horse. They gave him a little time now to stretch out. But what I really like, the race is on May 15th. 2 weeks later, May 31st, he's working. And since then, every 7 days clockwork. May 31st, June 7th, June 15th, June 22nd, June 29th, July 6th. And now you get to stretch back out from 6 furlongs to a mile. I think he's of the pace horses, I like him the most. So I want to use one of those horses that I think is going to be close up early and in the mix early. I think of those types of horses, he's the one that I like the most in here, Barry.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I took a double take on Irishok too, because I think that A, this horse likes Delmar, and B, gets reunited with Rispoli and might sit a good trip, because they're going to have to be forwardly placed, just being on the rail.
And just kind of by default, because like we said, there's a couple, I think it's a big field. There's a couple speeds, but I think he's kind of naturally going to be like mid-pack to the front of the mid-pack. So should sit a nice trip in there. That is the,
and almost beat Unrivaled Time.
Absolutely.
Almost beat Unrivaled Time back in November last year. So, this is a tough race.
It's really competitive. Good renewal of the Oceanside. We'll move to race number 9. We're up to the late double. This one is a first level allowance for Calbred horses. And you do have a couple of the shorter prices who have been doing a lot of their recent running on the turf. Matt at 5 is 3-1 on the morning line. He's coming off of a couple grass races. He went a mile. He gets the cutback to 6.5, which could really help him in here. That's a really nice cutback. And it's not like his dirt races were bad. He ran on the dirt a couple times, but most recently he's been on the turf. The 9, Frankie Bullet, his only win was on the dirt, but he's been on the grass a lot recently. His last 3 races are all second on the grass, and 4 of the last 5 he's been second on the grass, all in similar spots. It's not like he's taking a drop down in class either, just getting a surface switch for him. I did think the 5, whose only race was a win, and it came on the grass, but I thought this horse was maybe a little bit interesting. The Dam didn't win on the dirt, but from a sibling standpoint, there were a couple sibs that won on the dirt. I think Untamed Moment here. So enough there to think that this horse would be fine on the dirt. I thought this was kind of a really challenging race. I said this once earlier, to have a strong opinion. Like, I have a hard time really getting behind anyone all that much in here. I started to warm up to this horse a little bit more too, Barry. Rodrigo Knows, because
yes,
you go back early in his form, he was pretty good sprinting on the synthetic, and he broke his maiden at 6, and he won all the way to a mile. So if you're kind of using that range from 6 furlongs to a mile, this might hit him right between the eyes here at 6.5.
Yeah, I kind of like this horse a little bit. He's 2 wins on the dirt, which a lot of these horses can't say, and 2 more in the money. So I really don't see how this horse isn't going to be around it. They fit here class wise. It's just a lot of these horses just don't finish off races. So it might get a little bit dicey. But Rodrigo Knows, and Moment of Valor is a horse that won first time out. I thought that effort was good. And this kind of race is like one of those races where I call it a junk drawer race, where you have a lot of form to look through, but not a lot of good form.
Yep.
You have a lot of
fine,
yeah,
okay, yeah,
right.
fine.
Nothing that really stands out, and these are somewhat mediocre horses. So a horse that's new to the scene, like Moment of
Yep.
Valor, to me might have a little bit of an edge because they haven't proven themselves to be at least at this class. They might be beyond it, and it could show in a race like this where, again, you got the junk drawer, a lot of inconsistency between a lot of these horses, a lot of starts, a lot of older horses. This might be a good spot for a horse like that. And also Clever Clover, who runs pretty decent on the dirt, although they've been kind of going back and forth a lot. Was claimed by Isidro Tamayo, who does really well with claims. I know he hasn't had quite the success he had as he did up north, but I think this horse just got some bad trips in some races on the dirt previously, especially lately. So it kind of muddies up their form, and I think they might have a decent shot to get in the picture here.
The two horses that we were kind of starting with, you were kind of starting with, were the two that I started with, the 5 Moment of Valor. Also, just another couple small points. We were hitting on Pete Urton, who's not necessarily the one that cranks him up to win first time out. So when they do win first time out, you think this horse is probably pretty good, or at least very ready to run right now. And that was the case for Moment of Valor. Winning at 6.5 first time out is not easy either. It's kind of like a tricky distance. Like 6.5 and 7 furlongs start getting really kind of difficult, and they're stamina building distances. So if you don't have experience there, it's not always easy. I like that. And for the one, also Rodrigo, he was making his first start in 11 months last time out. He absolutely needed that race and should be much better here. Now, second start back after that long layoff where he hadn't raced from July all the way to June of 2026. So those are the two for me, 1-5 that I started with. And then I think I went to some of the wild card turf horses, like Matt at 5, Bullet, who's been, running on the grass recently. Even a horse like the 3, Clever Clover, who you pointed out, he's a dirt horse. He's stepping up a little bit here. The 2, Curlin Command, is the one who's kind of the grass horse who's trying the dirt for the first time, and he's the wild card. So what would be the type of way you're like, if you're playing a late pick 4, pick 5, who are some of the horses that you would want to use, or maybe 3 or 4 that you would need on your ticket?
I'd probably go 4 deep here. Using Rodrigo Knows, the 1, Clever Clover, Moment of Valor, and I'd probably throw in is the horse that's kind of the cutoff would be Curlin Command, the 2.
Cool. Barry's options there were both very similar with the top 2, Rodrigo Knows, and with Moment of Valor. I'll probably give more of a shot to like Matt at 5, at least on the cutback, I think, and his dirt form is fine. He's still pretty lightly raced there. Frank Bullet, not exactly sure what to do with. Like, I think I'm okay letting him beat me, especially if he's like,
yeah, he's going to be on the outside.
If shortish
price, not particularly a dirt horse either.
No, and he's been your beaten favorite in back-to-back races so far. So you know what? If he beats me at a shortish price, I think I'm okay with that. Hopefully, Barry, we are alive going into the 10th and final on opening day at Del Mar for Friday. I believe
just can't have another tis all that happen.
Yeah, no, none of those, please. No tis all that's what we get here. I believe Barry and I will be doing another stream on Friday along with Ryan Anderson and Noah Maher. So keep an eye out for that one. We'll probably be looking at the late pick 5 for Saturday at Del Mar. We'll spend a little focus on Del Mar for this weekend since it's opening weekend. So keep an eye on that. If you're following along on social media or if you're looking for other videos, Barry, let's get to this 10th mile on the turf course. You've got, maybe the 1, Grandma Mary, showing some speed, stretching out, trying the turf for the first time. Golden Hope showed some speed last time out. Aladdin was with Jasmine. She was showing speed on the magic carpet on May the 30th up front last time out. You've got Goodies, who is coming out of sprint races. Both sprint races showed speed. Molly E has shown speed in all 3 of her races, sprints and in the route last time out. So, I mean, just with that combination of horses, I felt like it was going to be a pretty honest pace in here.
Yeah, I think this race is going to play very, very fair, which usually when it does that, it kind of leans a little chalky.
Yeah.
And I think Ulysses Rose, it might be, just a bit classier because of those races they ran, those stake races, the Santa Barbara
Totally
and
agree.
I don't know if that's pleasantly
Possibly
perfect.
perfect. Possibly perfect. Yeah.
Possibly perfect. Yeah. Even though they didn't really run all that great in those races, it's just a world of difference dropping into this spot. Then
And
Peachy
the cutback,
Canyon,
right? Like the cutback,
yep.
the way the race sets up, cutting back to a mile, just getting the pace to run at. I completely agree. I think she's going to be a logical favorite that you want to use.
Yeah, that one in Peachy Canyon looked pretty
Another ship
good
and win,
here.
right?
Yep, the ship and win. You got to think those races are a little bit better than these. And then Pinto Bay is interesting. I like how they ran big first time off of that layoff. They came back running. You know how I love those kind of horses.
Yep.
Lost to Soul Sister, but that was first time Lasix. Didn't get a great trip from the outside. Gets better post relief. I know, Simon Callahan isn't going all that great at this point, but maybe this is the horse that will kind of turn it around for him at a nice price. Probably be sort of fourth choice, I think, and stands a pretty decent shot. But in multis, that those are the three I'm using for sure.
It's funny. I have a 4 on my cutoff line. That you mentioned the 3, and then my 4th is the 10. I just wanted to throw in one bigger price who I think might be able to get the same kind of trips. So you got the 12.
That would be the 12.
Novita Dominga, whose dam was good going long on the grass. Or when you
not only that, this horse freaked out in the tunnel. I don't know if you saw that
first
race.
Time out. Yep, first time out.
Yeah,
and just
and I like
right
that
through.
horse that day. You can see that horse was $3, 3 to 1.
Got bet.
Right, got bet a little bit. And obviously
strong.
was really immature. Yeah, obviously they were really immature, and the horse has been working pretty good since leading up to this race. I think they stand a shot for it. Not the post position. You might not get a price on this one. So
we both kind of throw in that one price horse. The 10, Jet Black Jewel, was the one I wanted to give a shot to because she had a slow start. She was really outrun early, about 8 lengths off. And you could just see once Kent started to get her into her nice stride, she makes this big early 3 wide move. I thought it was a very nice performance. And I'm going to give her another shot here, third start back off the long layoff. So I think we have like 3 of the 4 same horses, and then we throw in one other interesting long shot where we both feel like Ulysses Rose, the 9, and then both Pinto Bay, the 4 and the 5, Peachy Canyon, should run really well. They should get the kind of setups they need in here. They all kind of make sense on paper when you look at them too, like getting some class relief, cutting back, second start off the break. Like lots of positives here and a lot of speed to set it up for them. So Barry, my friend, we made it through the end of this opening day, Del Mar. Appreciate you navigating this full 10 race card with me. So before we let you go, you just came back from the Indiana Derby over at Horseshoe Indy. You went out there with Louis Rabot. How was that? And where are we going to see you and hear from you again this week? We got some horse racing happy hour, or what's coming up?
Yeah, Horseshoe Indianapolis is great. If you have the opportunity to go out there, you really, really should. They put on a good show. It's a great track. It's fairly new. The grandstand is nice. They got a casino in there that's very nice as well. But yeah, it was a great day of racing. Some upsets, and it was a really good time. But just doing SoCal Saturday, we're going over the Saturday's Del Mar card on Friday as well. So we're Del Maring it up.
Beautiful. And do you have any trips on the books right as of right now, or not exactly sure? They kind of come last minute a lot of times for you, right? Like they kind of come, we're going to somewhere in a few weeks.
Yeah, it comes together a little quickly. I think the next one is going to be in Saratoga, but that's going to be just a vacation type trip.
Awesome.
Just hanging out and gambling.
Beautiful. We were joking before we started recording. You and I have gotten so used to talking multiple times, or at least doing one of these shows per week over the last 5 to 7 years. I think we had 2 weeks in between just because I had a week off and then we took a little time. It felt like I hadn't talked to you in a year. I was like, man, even though we're literally
that way, it's crazy.
Even though we're honestly texting each other memes and GIFs 5 times a day, and like sending each other stuff. So it's like we're never not talking even more than one day, but just like not having gotten on the phone or not having done a stream, it really did feel that way. So
And this is
nice.
going back to Derby Wars too, man.
Oh, I mean,
And Derby Wars and Stable Duel
and like live streams with Darren Zocali and Caleb Knight and Matt DeSantis and all the different people through the years who joined us. So,
I mean, we were doing it every week at different times too. That's what's crazy about it. But
we would do
we're still here.
Yep, we would do different iterations of different shows, but yep, one thing is consistent. We are horse players, love to play the races, and hope we can help lead you in the right direction. So make sure you're following Barry. If you need any extra help, you can check me out on social media. Always love to interact with you, and you'll see my stuff pop up on the DRF YouTube all throughout the summer too, with all these big races coming up. Best of luck. Head to shop.drf.com for everything you need when you're playing the races, and don't forget, tell all your friends about DRF Newbie.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off.
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today.